It's hard to believe, guys, that we only have one more day. I cannot believe how fast this has gone. I cannot believe how much we've accomplished in just 1 month. I am almost done finishing up mine. I've got a little bit of catch up to do to kind of fill in the rest of the trees. Turkey work is tough business. It's not something you can really do in one day. So props to you guys if you have all your trees done, because I definitely do not. So if you're not like me and you've got everything done, you're probably thinking, wow, this looks completed. I probably could be done with my pattern. And you could be. However, we're going to be having a little bit more fun with a stitch called the Oyster stitch. And that's going to go in our trees to kind of give us a few little pine cones, add a little detail in there. We're going to be using pearl cotton, size 3 for 36, but you can use anything for our pine cones. I use regular 6-strand embroidery floss for these practice ones. However, they don't really give you the look of the pine cone because there's not that extra texture. Now, the needle we're going to be using is going to be the chenille 18 needle. We want this needle to be able to get this really thick floss through the needle easily, but you can use a needle that you have. Just be aware it might be harder with this thread to get it through a smaller eye. Now, before we stitch on our pattern, we want to practice. This is not one we just want to jump in head first and try to do on top of our trees. You can get a lot of this fringe caught into the different steps of the oyster stitch, so I definitely would suggest practicing on a separate piece of fabric first until you kind of have the steps down. You can understand how the stitch is supposed to work. Then you can kind of make it work around all the fringe here for our trees. Speaking of practicing, these are all practiced oyster stitches, and as you can see, they are all different, wrong, messed up, or right. I probably have 3 that are done. I think that one's the best one there. This one's a close second, that a close third. So don't beat yourself up if you're not able to get this down right away. It's one of those weird stitches where you need more practice to figure out the best way to make it look. Also, half of these would look perfectly fine as pine cones. So you don't have to worry about it being absolutely perfect to get the look or the idea of what you're wanting. A lot of it, you're not even seeing all of the pine cone through the trees anyway. So like I said, be kind to yourself. You're learning this really advanced stitch, and I'm proud of you for giving it a shot. There are a few different steps for this stitch, so we're going to do them step by step. You're going to come up through the fabric. Then you're going to go down right next to it. Not the same hole, but right next to it. Then you're not going to pass the needle all the way through the fabric. What you're going to do is you're going to rotate it to make it horizontal against the fabric. And then you're going to push up with your finger underneath here. You're going to push it up to about the length of a stitch that you would do on top of the fabric. You don't want to do something too long. This one is done with too long of a stitch. And these are done with shorter ones. It has more of a rounded pine cone look when you have the smaller stitches for it. This is too long. This is just right. Once the needle is resting right there on the fabric, you're going to take the thread here and you're going to cross over the needle. Then you're going to go underneath the needle. I like to use my thumb to kind of hold it down to keep it flat, to give it that flattened look. You don't want the thread to be overlapping too weird. It won't look quite as right. Then what I'll do is I'll pull the needle, okay? Making yourself a little loop. I don't want to pull too tight. You want to move this over, this top thread over, and you're going to take your needle and you're going to go underneath this one here on the right. So not the one on the left, but the one on the right. Like I said, take your thumb, place it over the needle, and pull. Take the thread and kind of wrap it around. Place it next to it. Use your thumb to hold that down. Then take your needle. What you're going to do is, you see this part that went underneath there, this thread here, you're going to kind of move that over a little bit. You're going to take your needle, you're going to go back into the fabric. What you're going to do is you're going to go back in where you originally first came up. Not the same hole, but right next to it. Rotate your needle again to go right back underneath that original stitch, like so. Then you're going to take your thread, you're going to wrap it around the needle again, hold it down with your thumb, push it through, and pull. Then, to put your needle back on the other side of the fabric, you're going to take your needle, you're going to go down underneath that. And that, my friends, is an oyster stitch. If you think it looks a little too narrow and you want to look wider, you can always just kind of play with it, kind of separate those fibers a little bit to give it some more width. press it down. But yeah, that is the oyster stitch to look like our little pine cones. Now that you've practiced this a bit, because I want to assume you have until your fingers bleed. I poked myself like 5 times practicing this. You're going to want to then take it and do it on your pattern. Now I've already done this on top of the fabric. Here I kind of did it just lay in the middle, kind of being completely seen through all of this fringe. However, here I kind of place it in between the 2 different layers. That way some of it could hang over top and it can look like it's peeking out from underneath. So it doesn't look like it's just lying directly on there. What I want to do now is I want to have it look like it's peeking out under here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this here and come up. Then you're going to go down, making sure to rotate up. Can't wait to stab myself again because it's going to happen. Rotate that up. Brilliant. Like so. Okay. Take this thread, push the eye down, wrap it around, being careful not to grab any of this fringe curtain here. Okay. Pull that through. Take your needle and you're going to go underneath. You're going to go underneath, pulling that through. Then wrap around again. Move this one over a little bit. Then going back in. Making sure to rotate. And then your final step will be to take the thread one more time, go around, pull it through, and then take the needle and poke it right back underneath. If you don't like how big it looks, you can push it down, pull a little tighter, and then you can hide it amongst all of your fringe on your pattern. That is how you do a pine cone on our finished piece. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know it's our last day and you probably are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to have time to do this. I wish I could have gotten involved this month. What you can do is still download the pattern, still get yourself a bunch of supplies over at DMC's website using my code GULAXDMC at checkout. And the videos are not going anywhere and they'll be on YouTube soon. So you guys will be able to then watch them and learn any time of the year. Don't hesitate to get started, get stitchy. So head on over there, check all of that out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on our last day, our finishing day. We're gonna take our piece and we're gonna finish it for display, guys. Can't believe it's almost over, but I'm so glad you guys have joined me for this journey. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.